Welcome everyone to video 1.2. This is part 9 of 10. We're almost through with this whole project, so right now we're kind of wrapping things up. At this point, we're going to, as the customer, print the documents. I'm going to sign them and scan them, send the finalized documents to trainee01, and then that's going to then kick off the process for the trainee to then reply back and move the process along to the next step, which we'll get into in a second. So first things first, we gotta actually print these documents out. So if I was the customer, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to print this document out because it has the signature page on the bottom here, which I'm actually going to just edit this out because I want to just get rid of the manager part in here. We can just have this be between Bill and trainee01. Usually there's only one person that will sign, so I'm just going to update that. And so I'm just going to sign this document. So first step is I got to print it. Printing to the Kyocera printer. I'm actually going to print two-sided. So I'm going to print on both sides so that it takes less paper. So a little more earth-friendly, a little more efficient. So I'm going to print that. Okay, so I'm back. We're going to now sign this document at the very end. So I'm signing as Bill. I'm going to sign and date, and then I'm going to go back to the multifunction scanner printer, and I'm going to scan to email. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. At this point, the email should be on its way. So if I go into my, there it is. If I go to my customer email, there it is. Oh, this is fun. So, yeah, minor details. So what I figured out here is that by default, the scan to fax, or sorry, scan to email doesn't support double-sided printing, which is kind of a fun feature because, yeah, that would have been awkward if you sent the if the customer sent this to you, if they didn't realize that, you would have gotten this and you would have said, wait a minute, it's got like every other page. What the heck's going on here? Because it goes from page 1 to page 3 to page 5, and that's because it's only reading the top page. It doesn't support double-sided printing, which was totally intentional here. I was trying to expose you to the fact that double-sided printing isn't supported. Sorry, double-sided scanning to email isn't supported. It was just brilliant on my part. It wasn't like I just forgot, you know, so. Okay, I'm just kidding. I did totally forget. I'm going to need to fix that. So, in fact, I'm going to not do double-sided printing, even though normally double-sided printing is a good idea. I'm just going to do regular printing, one-sided. This is kind of silly, but it is what's necessary in this scenario. So I'm going to print, and I'm going to do print one-sided instead. And let's try that again. So that's another example of why you should always double check everything. So before you email it out, make sure that the scan actually did scan properly, right? So just super basic stuff, but those are the things that get people is they don't double check things and they're not diligent, right? Takes a little bit extra time, but it's important. So with that said, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab the document. Okay, so now I'm going to sign again. Okay, so now I'll be able to do the scan again, but this time since it's single-sided printing, the scan will actually work. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now if we go to our email, we'll have a new scan right here. But this time, it should actually have all the pages. Hey, what do you know? So I've got this signed document right here. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this. Which is one way that they could do it, but Bill seems to be kind of the type of person that just doesn't bother to save it. He's probably just going to forward it. And he's just going to send it to trainee01 and just say something like signed SOW. Actually, no, that's the signed HLD. And that's not super uncommon. You will see that there are customers that do that, where they just kind of just send you, a quick forward of a scan. So in this case, I did have an example of the customer actually attaching the SOW in kind of a nice way where they kind of rename the file, but sometimes they'll just forward it to you from when they received it in their email through the scan. Just really depends. So at this point, I'm going to save the signed document. I'm going to find it, which by the way, it just usually goes to downloads, or it'll either go to downloads if it's one type of browser, it might go somewhere else, but you just have to find it, so then copy it. And you want to put it in a central place. You don't want to get in the habit of having stuff just everywhere. You want to put it all back in here, right, under customer deliverables. So you want to paste it. And so you want to call this customer signed HLD. And you want to just open it again just to make sure this is actually the signed one. Yep, it is. Okay, so we have that here. Perfect. So at this point, the customer may have just forgotten that they also have to sign the SOW because they just signed the HLD, right? So depending on the scenario, I'm just going to say that I'm going to reply back to all and say, hi Bill, thanks for sending the signed HLD. When you get a moment, please also send over the signed SOW, because honestly that's the more important of the two, but you don't want to be rude and say like, Bill, hello, what made you not sign the other one? You knew you had to do it. You do not want to say things like that. You just want to be helpful and be like, hey, when you get a moment, send over the signed SOW. So at that point, if I was the customer, I would get that email and I would realize, oh no, I can't believe I forgot that. So then I'm going to go as Bill and I'm going to pull up my SOW and then I'm going to go ahead and print that one-sided again because of the scanning function. So I'm going to be right back and then I'm going to sign it. Okay, so I just signed it. Now I'm going to go scan an email. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back, so I should have the scan. Yep, I do. So I'm just gonna go and actually this time I'm gonna play the part like Bill actually downloads it and renames it to a proper file name. Just to show you there's multiple ways to do it, so let's just make sure this is the right one. Yep, so this is the document, and there it is, it's signed. So I'm just going to say that he renames it to signed SOW. And let's just kind of follow this script here. So I'm just going to send a new email to trainee01. Signed SOW. So this is like the nicer way to do it, right? For the customer, instead of just forwarding it from the scan, he's actually going to write a new email and then actually attach it. So that was under documents, I believe. No, downloads. Signed SOW. So I'm going to send that. And now if I go into Trainee01, I can see I've got this signed SOW document. I'm going to go ahead and download that. It shows up here. Again, whatever has the parentheses, if there's two versions of a document, the parentheses one is going to be the newer one. I'm going to copy that. Again, I'm going to put that back in my customer deliverables folder on the file server. I'll paste that. And I'm going to rename it to customer signed SOW. And I'm going to make sure that it's the right one, just to be safe, and it is. Cool. Okay, so at this point, the customer has complied and has sent over all the signed documents, so you know we're pretty much in a good place. So at this point, the trainee is going, trainee01 is going to, who's the technician, is going to send an email back saying thanks for sending over the signed SOW, and then they're going to basically go into a different part of the project, which is the payment terms. So generally the technician, which will be you if you are working for a company where you're doing like smaller projects like this, which again, as a help desk person, you may or may not. The larger help desk, you may not do projects because you're generally busy doing tickets, but a smaller help desk, you might have to wear multiple hats, and also, you know, you may not end up doing help desk work later on in your career, and this would be very helpful. So just for exposure, again, I just don't want anyone saying like, I thought you said that we would do projects when I do help desk, but it may or may not be true. I do not know exactly what you'll end up doing because we're just trying to train you for as many options as we possibly can. So just a little background there. So yeah, this is basically just saying that the payment part will be handled between the usually the customer and someone else. So something like, you know, accounts payable team or something like that. So this one is basically talking about that the payment terms need to be outlined, and then the implementation plan will be followed after that. So of course you got to pay first, then the implementation starts, right? And then you're going to have after you complete the deliverables, they're also going to have a recurring meeting. Is a meeting that occurs like, you know, something like once a week. It's not just a one-time meeting. It's something that happens on a regular basis, right? So you're going to have a Monday meeting at 10 a.m. to discuss any of the details about the project. And then you're basically saying like, you know, if we can block our calendars out. These are terms you'll see, like blocking it out just means like you put in a meeting in your calendar so that everyone can see that you're busy and that no one else will schedule something in that time. So that's basically that. And so this part is just basically saying, you know, an ad hoc meeting is just a meeting that isn't scheduled ahead of time, where you kind of just call each other up and you're like, hey, we're having this problem with getting the Comcast modem up and running. You know, something like we need to push the timeline out one day because I need to sit on the phone with Comcast, or whatever the problem may be. Organically is just literally saying like, you know, throughout the normal process of the project. So I'm just gonna send this out. So this is gonna be in reply to the email that the customer sent. And I'm going to CC my manager, of course. So I'm going to say all that same stuff we just talked about. So we're good. Again, you might have to pause, you know, when I was showing you the email right here, you might have to have paused and typed it in, just so you know. So at this point, you know, Bill's going to reply and just acknowledge what you just said. So you go into Bill's email, I'm going to reply to all. And that's really nice because when Bill replies to all saying, sounds great, looking forward to getting up and running, he's replying to you, but he's also letting your manager know that he's, you know, happy about the process so far and everything's moving forward. So that's, you know, perfect, right? You're doing your job, your manager's happy, the customer's happy. That's really all you could ever ask for. So at that point, you are going to get in touch with Ted and basically say that everything's good to go, and that, you know, you're basically not anticipating any issues, and then you're, you know, generally gonna hand over anything to do with payment terms because that's really not part of like a technical role. So you're basically just gonna send this kind of canned email to your manager saying that, hey, we're in a good spot, but can you please handle the payment terms part. So these are just like little things that, you know, a lot of technical people don't think about, and they'll just like move forward because they think that, well, you know what, I've got the solution outlined, the customer side, it's not my problem to like get the company paid or whatever because I'm not in charge of accounts receivable or payments or whatever. But that's a poor attitude. If you're part of a team and in order for you to continue getting paid, if your company needs to, you know, charge the customer, you always want to ask your manager, like, hey, is there any kind of follow up I need to do to like pass this over to you so we can make sure we get paid? Or some companies have these things called chargebacks where if you do work for a part of your company, even a different department in your company, you might have to actually bill them for it, and that's called a chargeback, which is similar to something you'd send to an external customer. So a lot of times engineers or technicians will overlook that stuff because they don't care about the business side of it, but you can distinguish yourself again by actually caring about the whole project and asking your manager those kinds of questions, and your manager is going to notice that, and they're going to be really happy about the fact that you're not like a typical tech person. You actually care about the whole picture. So just something to keep in mind to just automatically make yourself shine above and beyond a lot of other people. So I'm going to send this email from trainee01 to the manager. So I'm going to send that to Ted. And I'm just going to say something like status update, bills, tax haven. Again, because you want the subject to actually be something useful for the manager so that they know that, you know, if they want to see what's going on with this project, they'll see that a subject like status update will probably be important to them, so they'll actually click on it. So I'm going to hit send. So at this point, if I go into here, so at this point I can see that I've got an email from Ted, and it's saying that everything's good, the customer sent over the SOW, and that everything's going well, which is perfect. I do not anticipate any issues. That's music to a manager's ear, right? Because they know that they don't need to intervene here and solve a problem, whatever. The technician is taking care of everything. But here, you know, the manager is going to say, oh, wow, that's great. He's engaging me for the payment terms part. So at this point, your manager will generally, you know, thank you for being proactive or something like that. And they're going to basically run with it from that point. So that just kind of completes the last leg. So I'm going to use Outlook for this. So I'm going to reply to your email as your manager and just let you know, thanks for keeping me up to date. Nice work. And that he's going to reach out to Bill and arrange the payment terms. So that's basically that part right there, and that's really like everything that you can control has been done, right, at this point from a trainee perspective or a technician perspective. So at this point, we're done with part 9 of 10. The last part is just the payment terms being figured out on the back end, which really has nothing to do with technology or really anything to do with the technician. But I just want to complete the cycle just to show you that part. We're done with this video, so hopefully this is, again, helpful. If you have any questions, please ask your trainer. Thanks again.